Okay, now let's discuss developing a health education plan. Okay, so what are the elements in developing a health education plan? So first, you need to manage the planning process. So when you say managing the planning process, so you manage people, time, resource before planning begins. So, meaning, ikaw as a nurse, you coordinate with the dietitian and set timeline for a diabetic education program. So, minanage mo yung process. Okay, nag-organize ka ng people sa dietitian, anong oras, ano yung mga resources na kailangan. Next is you conduct situational assessment. So, it means na in-identify mo yung problem, yung cause, and possible action using the data that you have. Okay? So, example, na-notice ninyo, okay, when you do your community, na-notice ninyo na ang madaming cases doon is hypertension. Okay? So, using that data, okay, maraming hypertension cases doon. So, na-note ninyo, okay, na kasi wala silang or they practice poor diet, okay, or lack of knowledge, okay. So, nagkaroon ka ng situational assessment. Third is you identify goals, population, and outcome, okay. So, tandaan, when you say goal, these are broad, long-term outcome. Pag population, targeted yung group, so sino yung target group ninyo, and outcome, objective, yung specific expected change na gusto ninyong mangyari. So, let's say, dun sa na-mention natin na ang na-note nyo na maraming cases ng hypertension, okay? So, yung goal nyo is to improve BP control. Sino yung population nyo? Yung mga adults na merong diagnosed with hypertension. Okay? Ano yung outcome ninyo? To reduce what? Sodium intake in 3 months. Kasi na-notice nyo nga na via data, okay, yung poor intake, yung nagiging reason, poor diet, okay, ng mga patient, yung naging reason bakit na tumataas yung numbers ng may hypertension. Okay? Next is what? Identify strategies, activities, and output. Okay? When you say strategies, ano yung general approach? Okay? So, example, education. Pag activity, okay, so that is strategy. Pag activity, specific action. So, ano yung gagawin ninyo? Let's say, teaching session. Okay? Ano yung output? Immediate result. Okay? Ilan yung number of participants na gagamitin ninyo. Okay? So, example, magkakonda kayo ng weekly diet teaching. So, ang aim ninyo is meron kayong 30 na attendant. Okay? Next, you develop indicators. So, when you say indicators, yung mga measured, mga ways for you to measure the success of the program. Okay? So, certain percentage, okay, nung mga mag-a-attend ng program nyo, okay? So, let's say yung low sodium food. So, percentage of patient who can list low sodium foods. Okay? So, may indicators kayo. Then, you review the plan. So, you ensure that all parts are aligned and consistent. Yung goal, yung method, and your evaluation. Okay? Yung skill objective. So, ano bang gusto nyong mangyari? So, mas demonstrate. Hindi siya lecture. Okay? So, that is your, what do you call this? Developing a healthcare plan. So, those are your elements. Now, we need also to remember, okay, when we are planning or designing a plan, that health education must address the whole person. Okay, di ba? Alam natin na yung dimensions of health which you discuss on fundamentals. So, holistic yung approach natin. Okay? Physical, intellectual, so I won't go into details. Emotional, spiritual, social, environmental, and occupational. Okay? Pag physical, body condition, intellectual, knowledge, emotion, more of feeling, spiritual, yung mga values. Social is relationship, environmental, yung nasa paligid ng pasyente mo, and occupational, yung workplace safety. So, again, yung dimensions of health natin. Now, let's discuss objective. Okay? So, we're done with elements. Let's discuss objective. So, when you say objective, we need to remember the definition of objective, which is a specific, short-term, and measurable behavior that the learner must demonstrate. Okay? So, ang characteristic ng objective is specific and concrete. Short-term, okay? Observable, measurable. One dimension, focus on a single behavior. Now, there are different types of objective. Okay? So, merong educational objective. So, broad. Pag educational, broad, long-term outcome of the entire educational program or course. Let's say, sa isang college. Okay? These are not a single teaching session. They are about what the learner is expected to achieve after completing a series of learning experience. So, more of yun yung educational. Okay? Very broad. Pag instructional objective, it describe what the educator plans to teach and how the teaching will occur. Okay? So, this objective focus on what? Content to be covered, teaching strategies, and learning resources. Okay? So, sa instructional, they are more specific than educational objective. But still centered yung teaching process. Okay? Not directly on the learner's performance. Okay? So, more of the process yung tinitingnan natin. And, sige, let's give an example. So, instructional objective, the educator will demonstrate proper hand washing technique using audiovisual materials and return demonstration. So, here yung focus is what is being taught, yung hand washing. How it is taught, demonstration, audiovisual aids. Okay? So, yung instructional objective answers the question, what will I, as an educator, as a teacher, do to facilitate learning? So, I will demonstrate proper hand washing technique using audiovisual material and return demonstration. That is an instructional objective. Okay? Now, ang importante would be your behavioral objective for our topic. Okay? When you say behavioral objective, this is also known as your learning objective. So, most critical type siya na sa health education kasi they specify exactly what the learner will be able to do after the teaching session. So, anong characteristic niya? Action-oriented. Okay? Must include observable behavior. Learner-centered. So, focus siya sa student or sa patient, and like yung kanina sa educator kay instructional, measurable and specific, short-term and outcome-based. Okay? So, say for example, this objective. After the session, the patient will be able to demonstrate proper hand washing technique for at least 20 seconds. So, dito makikita ninyo na clearly shows the expected performance. Ma-observe, ma-evaluate ninyo dito sa behavioral objective. This directly reflects learning. Okay? So, sa behavioral objective, ang tatanungin mo, what can the learner do after the teaching session? Okay? So, more of learner-based to. Nakafocus ka kay student or doon sa patient mo. Okay? So, bakit importante? Okay? Bakit importante yung... Sige, before we proceed, balik lang ako saglit dito. So, ang pagkakamali kasi na nangyayari, okay? Sometimes, when you write objective, let's say, ang sinulat mong objective is to discuss diabetes management. Okay? Napaka-vague ng objective. Okay, more of instructional yung objective to discuss diabetic management. Kung gusto mo maging behavioral yung objective, okay, ang sasabihin mo is what? The patient will list 3 ways to manage diabetes at home. So, behavioral, measurable. Kung meron kang number, okay, kailangan makapag-list siya ng 3 ways to manage diabetes. Okay? So, tandaan nyo yung distinction nila. Si educational objective, overall direction. Sa instructional, guide yung teaching process. At si behavioral, yung it determine if the learning actually happened. Okay? Now, sige, let's proceed here. So, bakit ang behavioral objective matter? Okay, so it serves 2 essential purpose. They guide the educator in selecting appropriate teaching strategies, content, and evaluation method. And they inform the learner exactly what is expected of them after the learning. Okay, So, importante siya, okay, when you are doing your health education. So, dapat behavioral yung makikita ko na objective ninyo. Okay? Now, when you say sub-objective, okay, so meron kang objective, may sub-objective pa. So, yung objective, break down mo pa, okay, pinaliit mo pa, okay, para mas manageable yung step. In that way, na-help nyo yung learner to progress gradually. So, let's say, for example, yung main objective mo is a patient will demonstrate insulin injection. Okay? Ang sub-objective mo, first, they need to identify injection site, how to prepare syringe correctly, demonstrate proper injection technique. So, those are your sub-objective. So, ito, step-by-step breakdown, okay? Kung ano yung mga specific na psychomotor skill na kailangan nilang ma-achieve. Okay? So, that is your sub-objective. So, when you are writing a health teaching plan, they should primarily focus, tandaan, on behavioral objective. Okay? Kasi nga, it drive the choice of teaching method, ano yung evaluation method na gagawin mo, and it ensure that the teaching is patient-centered. Alright? Now, I want you to note this 3, okay, objective, and ang topic daw dito ay hypertension education. So, I want you to identify sino dito ang educational, instructional, at behavioral objective. Okay? So, I will ask this during our face-to-face meeting. Alright? So, let's now differentiate goal versus objective. So, pag-usapan natin yung objective. When you say goal, okay, it represents the overall long-term outcome of the teaching learning process. Kung si objective, specific, and concrete, tandaan nyo, ang goal ay broad and general. Long-term siya, hindi siya short-term. Okay? Multi-dimensional siya. So, hindi lang siya nakafocus sa single behavior. Okay? Multiple aspect of behavior is being observed there. Okay? So, now, when you are writing a behavioral, okay, sige, balik ako konti before I proceed. So, let's picture it, let's say yung goal, yun yung destination. Yung objective, yun yung direction to reach your destination. So, you better put it that way. Okay? So, isa pang analogy na pwede natin gamitin. Si goal, siya yung whole pie. Si objective, siya yung slice ng pie. Yung sub-objective, yung kanina, yung bites. Yung maliliit na bite mo doon sa slice na yun. Okay? So, importante, okay, na yung objective mo is gearing towards your long-term goal. Okay? And so, same with the sub-objective, dapat gearing din siya towards your objective. Now, in writing behavioral objective and goals, okay, it is mentioned that a well-written behavioral objective must clearly answer 3 questions. Okay? What should the learner be able to do? Yun yung performance. Under what condition will the behavior occur? That's the condition. How well must the learner perform? That's your criterion. And eventually, later, nag-add pa sila ng pang-apat na element. Okay? Who is the learner? The audience. So, this is what we call now the ABCD format. Okay? Which ensure that the objective are complete, specific, and measurable. So, bakit siya naging ABCD? Let's go here. Okay? So, when you say A, this is the audience. Okay? Yung huling dinagdag. Who? Okay? Who is your audience? B is the behavior. Okay? Yung behavior natin that's your condition. Okay? Sorry. Behavior. Sige, later I'll give a better example. C would be the condition, under which circumstance, and D would be the degree, how well, to what extent, and within what time frame. Okay? So again, tandaan, A is the audience, B is the behavior, what, okay? C would be the condition, and D, the degree. Okay? When you say audience, excuse me, okay, this specify who the learner is. So, let's say in the education, in your health education, so that's your patient. Let's say si Mr. Cruz. Let's say, group discussion yung gagawin mo. So, a group of postpartum mothers. Kung educator ka, yung mga student nurses. So, this ensure the objective is learner-centered, not teacher-centered. So, the patient, the student nurse. Okay, that's your audience. When you say behavior, this is the most critical component. It describes what the learner will do to demonstrate learning. So, the behavior must be what? Observable, measurable, action-oriented. So, wag kang gagamit ng mga vague verb like what? Understand, know, appreciate. That is difficult to measure. Instead, when you are writing the B part, okay, the behavior, you must use performance verb like what? List, demonstrate, identify, explain, perform. That is what? Itong mga na-mention natin na performance verb, these are what? Measurable. Okay? Kasi nga, ang behavior must be observable, measurable, and action-oriented. Okay? Please take note of that. Now, when you say C, tapos na tayo sa B, let's go to C. Under what circumstance or ano yung condition? This describe the situation or environment in which the learner will perform the behavior. Anong tool, what tool are given? Ano yung limitation na nag-exist? What context is provided? Okay, so let's say after 20 minutes of teaching session, okay, given a demonstration kit without assistance using a visual guide, okay, it describes the situation or the environment which the learner will perform the behavior. And lastly, the degree, how well. So, this define the standard of acceptable performance. Okay? Meron kang sinet na acceptable. Okay? Para masabi mo how accurate, how many, how fast, how complete. Okay? Within 100% accuracy. List at least 3 out of 4 steps within 10 minutes without error. Okay? So, that is the degree. So, let's put, okay? Before I give an example. So, this is a 4-part method of objective writing. Okay? So, dito makikita mo, okay, si condition, si audience, si behavior, at si criterion. So, without using a calculator, that's your condition. The student, yung audience mo, will solve what? 5 out of 6 math problem. That's your criterion. Okay? After watching a video, that's your condition, the caregiver will select high-protein food for patient with 100% accuracy. Okay? So, nakita pa paano magsulat ng objective. Okay? So, let's go to this example. After 30 minutes of teaching session, the patient will be able to demonstrate proper insulin injection technique with 100% accuracy. So, i-dissect natin to one by one. After 30 minutes of teaching condition, that's your teaching session, that's your condition. Okay? Yun yung environment mo. The patient, siya si A, audience, will be able to demonstrate proper insulin injection, that is your behavior, with 100% accuracy. And that is your degree. Okay? So, I hope that this example is clear. Okay? So, with that, let's go to common mistakes in writing objective. Okay? We identified a few. Okay? So, a common mistake is teacher-centered instead of learner-centered siya. So, again, when you write your objective, behavioral objective, okay, dapat hindi siya teacher-centered. So, the nurse will teach wound care. Okay? Mali. Okay? Next, multiple behavior in one objective. The patient will list, explain, and demonstrate proper wound care. Okay? So, ang dami. Madaming behavior na nanonote. So, again, avoid using multiple behaviors in one objective. Missing the ABCD component. Okay? So, the patient will demonstrate insulin injection. Walang degree. Okay? Walang condition. Okay? Vague, non-measurable verbs. So, as we mentioned, okay, the patient will understand diabetes management. How? Paano niya ma-understand? Paano mo ma-measure? Okay, unrealistic or unattainable expectation. The patient will completely eliminate salt from diet forever after one session. Okay, that's unrealistic and not aligned with your goal. Okay, so let's say yung goal mo is to manage hypertension. Totally different yung nasulat mo. Okay, so again, nakita nyo na naman po ang Bloom's three domains, okay, in terms of learning. So this is the taxonomy of objective according to the learning domains. So when you say taxonomy, it is a system used to classify learning based on the type and complexity of the behavior. Again, yung kay Bloom, you have your cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Okay, so these domains are interrelated. Learning does not happen in isolation. Okay, so yung tatlong to works hand in hand. Okay, so again, mauulit lang po at nang mauulit. So quick review lang, cognitive thinking or cognitive domain is the thinking part, more focused on the knowledge and understanding. Okay, most commonly used in health teaching. So explain diseases and medication. So organize siya into 6 levels from simple to complex. Okay, hold on. So, ano yung 6 levels na pagkaka-organize ng cognitive domain? Okay. Here, you can see that parang may ladder. Okay, may diagram. Okay. It is mentioned here that for each domain, okay, merong hierarchy. So, ibig sabihin, when before kang maka-proceed sa next step, you need what? To understand first or ma-fulfill mo yung unang step. Okay? So, sa cognitive domain, you have knowledge. Kapag well-equipped ka with knowledge, you will be able to, what? Do comprehension. And so on and so forth. Then, you could do application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Okay? So, dito sa domain na to, okay, makikita mo yung hierarchy na as you progress, okay, mas complex, okay, na parang analogy na ikaw ay nag-climb ng stair. So, you cannot get to the top unless you go one step at a time. Okay, so it starts with knowledge. So, tandaan, knowledge first, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Alright? So, let's dissect one by one. Okay? When you say knowledge, okay, recall facts, ability to remember information. Okay? So, let's say, the patient will state the definition of hypertension. So, recall facts siya. When you say comprehension, they understand the meaning. Yung ability to explain on own words. So, patient explain why low sodium diet is important. Okay? Pag sinabi mong application, so they use the knowledge. Nakikita nyo yung progression. Yung ability to apply the learning in real situation. So, the patient follows a prescribed low sodium diet at home. Okay? Next is analysis. So, yung breakdown ng information. Your ability to identify parts and relationship. So, patient identify. Ito yung mga example, yung mga naka-parent quote, unquote, okay? Patient identify which food in the diet are high in sodium. Okay? So, na-identify niya yung parts and relationship. Synthesis is you create a new idea and plan. You apply to combine, your ability to combine knowledge into something new. So, patient creates a weekly meal plan for hypertension. And then, evaluation, you make judgment. So, your ability to judge or decide based on the criteria. So, patient evaluate whether their lifestyle change are effective. Okay? So, yun yung 6 sa pagkaka-organize ng level sa cognitive thinking. Okay? Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So, nagsimula ka sa simple na recall ng fact, na understand niya yung meaning, ginamit niya yung knowledge na yon. Okay? Application, na breakdown niya. Okay? Nakapag-create siya ng bagong plan, and now they can make sound judgment. Okay? So, for this tool, ano yung teaching method na appropriate for your cognitive, okay, sa domain na to. So, lecture, group discussion, one-on-one instruction, self-instruction activities, computer-assisted instruction. Okay, so these are the teaching method that you can use. Okay, and teaching tool would be verbal, written, and visual tool. Now, let's go to your affective domain or the feeling part. Okay, focus on attitude, values, beliefs, and emotion. So, harder to measure siya because it is internal and subjective. So, essential siya sa nursing. Example, yung motivation, compliance, and empathy. Now, we need to remember, okay, that behavior is interfered, not directly observed. Okay, example, you cannot see value, but you can see action reflecting it. Behavior is inferred. Okay, so hindi mo let's say hindi mo makikita or ma-measure yung value, pero makikita mo siya in terms of the action that reflects it. Okay, so yun yung characteristic ng affective domain. And again, you have your level. So kung kanina 6, here you have 5. Receiving, responding, valuing, organization, and characterization. So when you say receiving, yung awareness, willingness to listen or pay attention. Patient listen to teaching about smoking cessation. Okay? Pag responding, okay, so you will go a step higher. Okay? Participation to. So the learner reacts or participates. Okay? So patient asks questions about quitting smoking. Okay? When you say valuing, it accept importance. So, learner believes something that is important. So, patients express desire to stop smoking. Now, organization, this one integrates the value. So, you prioritize and organize the belief. So, patient decide to prioritize health over smoking. And lastly, characterization. So, yung internalized value. So, behavior becomes consistent lifestyle change. So, patient consistently avoid smoking and promote healthy habits. Okay? So, that is for your emotional part. And yung teaching method na gagamitin mo dito is role model, role play, simulation, gaming, questioning, case studies, or group discussion sessions. Alright? Next, you have, before we proceed there, so next step, you have 3 levels under your affective domain. You have intrapersonal. When you say intrapersonal, so intra, within, okay, personal perception of one's self, yung self-concept. Interpersonal, okay, you have perspective of self in relation to other individuals. And extrapersonal will be the perception of others as established group. Okay, extrapersonal. Alright, now let's go to your psychomotor domain or the skill domain. So, learning of physical skill, excuse me, and motor abilities such as procedure, manipulation of equipment, and coordination of movement. So, it is focused more on the doing rather than the knowing or feeling part. Okay, ito na yung skills. Inserting IV line, wound dressing, suctioning, okay, assisting ambulation. So, dito, mas makikita ninyo, mas broad. You have 7. Perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. So, we'll go to them one by one. Okay? First is perception. So, yung awareness. Kapag ikaw ay nasa psychomotor domain. Okay? So, first is perception, yung awareness, recognizing cues and observing skill. So, you identify correct patient position to prevent aspiration. Okay? So, you recognize cues and observing the skill. Next is set or yung readiness. You demonstrate willingness and preparation to act. Okay? Patient express readiness to try wound care. Okay? So, nakita mo yung readiness sa part na yon or the set. Next is the guided response. So, this one, okay, this is imitation. Perform skill with guidance. So, Student perform injection while instructor supervise. Okay, so again, dahil nga nasa skill part tayo. Okay, so again, perception, recognize cues and observing skills. Next, yung willingness na to and preparation to act. Pag guided response, okay, performing skill with guidance. Next is the mechanism, yung confidence. Performing skill more smoothly with practice. Okay, patient independently uses crutches. Okay, with proper gait. Then you have your complex overt response, skillful performance. Now, the performance skill is being done accurately and efficiently. Okay, so let's say kanina, na-identify mo na independently use crutches with proper gait. So, patient uses crutches in daily activities such as stairs and walking. Okay, number 6 is adaptation. So, modify skill based on situation. So, adjust diet plan based on the food available at home. And origination, this is creating new ways of performing skill. Okay, so usually parent develop own strategy to monitoring child's asthma symptoms. Okay, so again, for your psychomotor, you have 7 domain for this one. Okay, 7 levels for this one. So, in terms of your psychomotor learning, the principle applies that, okay, demonstration, practice, feedback, and repetition. Okay, so ang psychomotor learning is essential for patients' independent. Kasi nga, kaya tayo nagtuturo, okay, kasi we want them to be more self-reliant. So, you demonstrate, practice, feedback, repetition. So, patient must always practice. Repetition. Okay? You gain, kapag ginagawa mo lagi, you gain confidence. Then, na-apply mo yung skill in a real-life situation. So, common teaching strategies here, demonstration and return demonstration. Simulation and skills lab. Use ng mga model videos and checklists. And even mental practice. Okay? That also helps. Alright? So here, kindly please take note, okay? So, these are the commonly used verb according to the domain classification. So, I want you to take note. Di ba per level, okay, we've discussed a cognitive, you have 6, knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. So, this would be your guide. These are the common use verb. If you are, you're using, nasa cognitive domain ka and ang ini-impose mo or ang objective mo would be knowledge, okay? So, you used this kind of verbs, okay? Yung mga corresponding verbs. So, kindly please take note of this. So you have a copy. So, sa affective, so you have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have your psychomotor. So, again, these are the use verb. So, I want you to take note of this when you will be writing your health plan. Okay, your health teaching plan. Okay. Next, development of teaching plans. So, when you say teaching plan, it is a systematic blueprint that guides the entire teaching learning process. So, it is developed after goals and objective are clearly defined. Okay. So, if the goal is for the patient to self-administered insulin, the teaching plan will occur. Okay? So, dapat meron kang steps of injection, that's your content, demonstration, yun yung method, syringe and model, that's your resources, and return demonstration, that is the evaluation. So, ano yung 8 essential component of a teaching plan? Okay? So, first, you have your purpose. Why? Reason for teaching. To help patient manage diabetes at home. Okay? Next is the goal. Ano yung long-term outcome mo? So, na-mention natin pag goal, broad, overall, expected. Patient will independently manage diabetes. Ano yung objective mo? So, again, the first one is purpose. Then, you set your goal. Okay? And then, you set your objective. Your short-term measurable. Specific learner behaviors. Patient will demonstrate insulin injection after teaching session. Okay, so tandaan to. Why? Ano yung goal? Ano yung objective? Then, ano yung content? Anong tuturo mo? Okay? Ano yung topic and information? Okay? So, insulin preparation, injection site, storage. Okay? Yun yung content mo. So, again, bakit mo siya ituturo? Ano yung goal, long term? Ano yung objective, short term? Ano yung content? Then, you go to the instructional method. How will you teach it? Ano yung teaching strategies you use? Demonstration, then return demonstration, ba? Ano yung allotted time na duration mo? 15 to 20 minutes per session. Ano yung instructional resources or tools, material na gagamitin mo? Kailangan mo ng syringe, kailangan mo ng anatomical model, kailangan mo ng handouts. And then, ano yung evaluation method mo? How will you measure that learning? Through return demonstration or oral questioning. Okay? So, ito yung 8 essential component of a teaching plan. So, I want you to take note of this when you are writing your healthcare plan. Okay? So, why teaching plans are important? So, some of this is self-explanatory na. Okay? So, it ensure logical and organized teaching. So, it helps you as educators see the connection between the step. So, nagpe-prevent ka ng unstructured teaching or random teaching. Okay? Communicate the teaching process clearly. Okay? Yung evaluation method mo, yung promotes team coordination. Okay? Third, it serves as a legal documentation. So, proof nagbibigay ka ng patient education. Okay? Kung nakalagay yan sa NCP mo, so dapat nakalagay yan. Okay? Planned and implemented. Sometimes, it is requirement for accreditation and institutional policies and even evidence-based practice. Okay? Now, when you say internal inconsistency, okay, now, all parts of the teaching plan must align with each other. So, pag gumawa kayo ng teaching plan ninyo, okay, health teaching plan, everything should reflect the same learning domain. So, yung purpose, yung goal, yung objective, okay? So, let's say, ang purpose mo is to teach post-circumcision care. Ang goal mo, yung mother ang magpa-perform independently. Anong objective? Mag-demonstrate ng care procedure, okay? Post-circumcision care procedure. Therefore, ang method mo is, ano dapat? Demonstration, okay? Anong evaluation mo? Return demonstration. Hindi consistent yan. So, let's say, ang method mo is lecture only. Tapos, evaluation, written test ang gagawin. For evaluation, written test yung gagawin mo. So, hindi. Hindi siya consistent. Okay, merong inconsistency. So, tandaan, dapat everything should reflect the same learning domain. Okay? Now, what is a learning contract? So, when you say learning contract, this is the mutual agreement between the teacher and the learner. It promotes active participation and ownership of learning. Okay? May 4 na component yung learning contract ninyo. You have the content, the performance expectation, evaluation, and time frame. Okay? And in content, what will be learned? Performance expectation, how learning will occur. Okay? Evaluation, how success is measured, and time frame when learning should be completed. So, yun yung 4 na component ng learning contract ninyo. Okay? I think I already shared this part already earlier. Okay. So, here, makikita ninyo, ano ba yung mga well-written objective and poorly written objective. Okay? So, let's go, pili tayo ng isa. Okay? After 20 minutes of teaching session, the patient will verbalize at least 2 feelings of concern associated with wearing a colostomy bag. Okay? This is a well-written. May A, B, C, D ka. Poorly written, let's choose 1. Okay? After 20 minutes teaching session, the patient will appreciate knowing the steps required to complete a finger stick. Performance not stated in measurable term or criterion is missing. Okay? Hindi measurable. Ano yung hindi measurable dyan? Appreciate. Paano mo ma-measure ang appreciate? Okay? So, that is a poorly written objective. Okay? The patient will verbalize and demonstrate the proper steps performing self-catheterization. So, anong mali dito? To expected behavior. Okay? Next, example of verbs with many or few interpretation. Okay? So, here, meron kang many interpretation. Ito, few interpretation. Okay, so kindly focus here sa mga recommended to apply, to choose, to classify. So yung katulad kanina, 'di ba? Yung mga vague, to realize, to appreciate, to understand. Okay, so let's iwasan natin tong mga verbs na to. Okay? Now, let's go to strategies and methodologies. So, when you say strategies, these are the means by which long-term objectives are achieved. When you say methods, these are more detailed action used to aid the achievement of the objective, and methodological strategies. So, it focus more on the communicative principle in which teaching of pronunciation is essential component in the correct development of the oral communicative competence of your client. So, technically, yung strategies, long-term objective will be achieved. Okay? Pag methods, more detailed action para ma-achieve mo yung objective. And yung strategies, more of the communicative principle. Now, ang teaching method, this is the way of information is taught that brings the learner into contact with what is to be learned. Okay, that's your teaching method. And we will discuss different teaching methods, starting with your lecture. So, when you say lecture, this is structured verbal teaching used to deliver foundational knowledge. Okay? So, sa lecture, meron kang main part. You have introduction. So, pag sa introduction, you should present the learner with an overview of the behavioral objective, okay, related sa lecture topic, alongside with the explanation as to why, bakit yun yung objective natin. Okay? Next is the body of the lecture, the actual delivery of the content related to the topic na i-address mo. And conclusion, so yung wrap up. You wrap up every lecture. So, you summarize ka ng information provided in that presentation. Next teaching method is group discussion. Okay? So, when you say group discussion, okay, this is what? Learner exchange ideas and opinions to deepen the understanding. And for your group discussion, you have team-based learning. So, when you say team-based learning, okay, hold on. So, when you say team-based learning, the educator offers structured, student-centered. Okay? Yung approach natin dyan. Yung environment na binibigay mo. So, the goal is to enrich the student learning through active learning strategies. So, usually, kapag team-based, nagko-compose siya ng 5 to 10 persons, okay? I-group nyo together. Then, team members are required to be prepared for the class and contribute to the team. Okay? So, that is team-based learning. When you say cooperative learning naman, okay? Kapag cooperative learning, okay, highly structured group work focusing on problem solving that leads to deep learning and critical thinking. So, si educator sa cooperative learning is siya yung center ng authority ng class. Okay? With group tasks, usually more closed-ended and often having specific answer. So, this is highly structured group work focusing more on the problem solving that leads to deep understanding and critical thinking. Okay? So, that is the difference of your team-based learning and cooperative. Now, sa cooperative learning, meron kang 4 na key components. Okay? So, dapat extensive structuring of the learning task by the teacher. Dapat strong interactive student-to-student execution ng task. Immediate debriefing, okay, or other assessment para mag-provide ng teacher and student about the feedback of the intended learning, and instructional modification by the teacher based doon sa feedback na na-receive niya. Okay? So, that is your cooperative learning under your group discussion. Okay? Next, you have your case study. So, sa case study, another teaching method, it allows learner to deeply understand the patient's condition before identifying needs and health problems. Okay, this enhances your critical thinking, analysis, and problem solving, and helps apply knowledge in clinical practice. So, kayo as nursing student, so even ako when I was a nursing student, okay, we use case studies as a teaching method. Okay, so dito talaga tayo natututo. Okay, then seminar. Learning is guided through question posed by the educator. So, conducted in series of session where learners discuss topic based on the assigned reading. Okay, so usually it requires participation to prepare beforehand to actively engage in discussion sa seminar. One-on-one instruction, so individualized, face-to-face teaching tailored dun sa learner's need. Okay, pwedeng planned or formal or informal, spontaneous lang. Okay, demonstration and return demonstration. So, si educator first show the skill, ano yung na ipa-perform ninyo. The learner then performs the skill to demonstrate competence and guidance, and then highly effective siya sa psychomotor skill development for the teaching method. Okay? Gaming. So, you use a structured role-based activities where learners apply knowledge in competitive setting. Say, quiz bee can range from simple to complex tasks that promotes critical thinking and decision making. Simulation, this provides a controlled, risk-free environment that mimics real-life situation. So, learners can practice decision-making, observe outcomes, and improve performance safety. So, ang focus niya is more experiential learning without real-life world consequences. So, example nyo na BLS, Basic Life Support. Okay, that's a simulation. Okay, minimimic nyo yung real life situation. Okay, without the consequences kung mamali ka man. Okay, role playing, hindi magsasuffer. Okay, yung patient kasi namali ka, na break mo yung mali yung pag-compress mo. Okay, role playing, learners act out assigned roles in spontaneous scenarios. So, encourage what emotional engagement and behavioral understanding. So, commonly used for learning in the affective domain. Okay? Role modeling. So, the educator demonstrate desired behavior as an example. So, promote learning through observation and imitation, and it is best being taught in action. Okay? Self-instruction. Okay, learners study independently using structured material. So, you promote self-paced and self-directed learning. So, effective siya both on knowledge acquisition and skill development kapag self-instruction. It includes materials like modules, videos, and online resources. Okay? Now, let's go to the teaching resources. So, ang teaching resources nyo, these are tools and material used to support the learning and make instruction more effective, engaging, and understandable. Okay? So, first, you have your learning environment or the setting. Okay? This refers to the physical space and arrangement where teaching occur. Okay? Table discussion ba yan? So, pag table discussion, small group, face-to-face setup. Okay? Promote interaction and participation and active learning. Okay? Or online or virtual setting conducted via video calls or learning platform. Next is human resource mo. Okay? So, these are the people involved in the teaching learning process. So, ito yung time and effort of the student, nurse, and the client. Okay? That's human resource. That's a resource. Yung time ninyo, yung effort ninyo. Okay? And material resources. So, these are the tools and materials used to support the learning process. Okay? Handouts. Okay? You provide written reinforcement, yung key concept, yung step-by-step procedure, yung reminders, precautions. So, may binigay kang handouts. Recommended website or YouTube videos. Okay? So, you offer visual and self-paced learning. Alright? And then, other materials, textbook. Okay? Software, digital tools, mga interactive, self-paced, technology-based learning. Relevant reading materials. So, supplementary written content. Okay, so those are your material resources. Videos, okay, yung na-mention natin kanina, and records. So, let's say, teaching resources would be record, real-life documentation. Okay, so, syempre, still practicing your Data Privacy Act. Alright, so, with that, we are done discussing your teaching resources, okay, and designing or developing a teaching plan. So, next would be the signing, health education plan for specific age group. Thank you for listening.